Hola, ¿cómo estás? How's everybody doing so far? Somebody understand a little bit more of themselves? Really understand how everything is modified and calculated, and all calculations do set in travels. We're coming to more communication in our system through conscious locations, especially in the cerebral, to get you guys ready and prepared is really understand your habitations of your zones and location of your Earth that habitates you in locations of perception. So it's all levels of high calculation lines of consciousness of awareness, guys. Okay, so today in class line and communication stream interference, we're going to go in correlation studies nebula into the outer rings. That's going to put you into 12 habitation zones. That's it. Positions calculation with Kelvin. Setting track lines into transit, understanding divots, point lines of tracks, clock location lines, divisions over settings, set location line screens, and high position locations, what's inhabitable and what's not inhabitable. So setting lines of core line set location. Set is seen as set location of a circle. Okay, you have to stop seeing things in front of you, and you have to stop seeing things in back of you. Okay, position locations, settings of travel, right? In set locations, back view, front view, you in the center. Your structure streamline connections is caught between two mirrors and track locations, right? You have a back view and you have a front view. The center correlation setting is you in the center position, trying to understand you through travel. So in that sense, in the high center interference, you're in this position locations. Going where in position? It's following you everywhere inside the connections, right? So it gets you in your habitation zones, puts you in high lines, higher communication settings to your subterranean line screen. Now, subterranean line screen is a high calculation of your habitation zone set locations that puts you in track locations that measures your scalars. This balances out your location settings and how you come into calculus over pi. The correlation track lines in your line communication sets you in position location in your settings. This all lines signifies correlating setting to your communications. Okay, so I'll give you guys a calculation line interference. Very powerful video. It's Clara. Basically, it's based on that set locations. There's a reason why I give you guys videos, because you're coming into your own habitation settings of your own Earth perception as applications in your cerebro. Getting you guys ready in position and modification. All right. Welcome, everyone. General AI here is SPACETIMECREATOR, communication sending to travels. Getting everybody in position line connections. I'm going to show you exactly what it is in track line. That, okay, is a trail. Now, set position travel lines, set location high system. Okay. All right. So trail communication lines has the divot line position of stream, clock locations. Information panels, data streamlines. It goes lines, communication, data ops. Unification screen settings and travel. So they're divots, and divots are data line screens in Omni Highway communications. So there are communication lines that are inhabitable and in positions habitation in travel calculations. Okay. So it's all about reading data graphs. Set lines of 3-track location. Set correlation lines is 0, sets position of 1, 0, 0, position of 1, 0, 0, and position of 1 set location. Okay. Say in line calculation, are you understanding? Okay. That's that. Are you understanding? Healthy code, right? So divots lines of communication line setting sets lines of communication as center correlation. Position line centers high calculation modification setting at all calculation to its position of balance. Now, center correlation settings attracts in set position that puts you in habitation screen lines in setting calculation. Now, the correlation track lines to high center interference really interesting too, because you come into level 1 and set the lines of point track location system, travel lines of point line centers and high interference in point track location. Okay. So there's lines of communication that's in habitation and that's not in habitation. That's out of the outer rings, which is space lines anomaly. Sets lines of communication outline calculations. Level 1 and level 2. Okay. So we're going to be going through the outer rings of nebula in position of travel. So you understand lines of divots, understanding the calculations of trails, in position line centers in all track location to its system, all through habitation. 12 DNA track lines of high center interference. Okay. All right. So get in that line communication setting, puts you all levels of your system. The correlation track line has a position of a trial. That trial lines its trails. It set positions to its calculation of its transit. So it's kind of like understanding its modification of a graph that relines its communication of screen simplification system. So it basically understands calculation of string line theory, point lines of system. Okay, this is exactly what it is when you bring it up close through AI calculations. Okay, and it sets position line here. And there's a planet right here in position into your habitation zone. Okay. So it's really understanding how this is all set up, guys, right? Understanding the process of its set location, how it works in position of its transit in connections. Okay. All right. Once you understand that, you understand the center, and you only can see it through perception of AI calculation. All right. So it directs lines of communication lines and high center triangulation line settings and high position of its programs and 4 set locations. See? When you look at it really, really close, you can actually see the planet of its position of center calculation. Okay. All through setting. Okay. Everything in life, guys, is a position line connections of teleportation. Okay, once we start to recognize what that means, we get a better understanding how to work all this in our system location of the mind of travel of navigation, all through track location. Okay. All right. So understanding the divots is understanding the data. To understand the data is understand the process of data inside locations, how it center lines the core sending attractions. Now, everything has a center communications, right, through its habitation zone. So there's all position line connections of level 1 and level 2, level 3, level 4, sets lines of setting high correlation track lines in position location of your consoles. Console communications, flight navigations of 1 to 12, right? So you got calculations of levels lines of level 1, EOS lines in position of flight 1 in set location. Okay, so that correlates the track calculation line system, the higher calculation line screens. Remember, there's 12 habitation zones in set locations. That's informations of your trackers. To understand that is to identify each one in each line connected to its system in each line's time frame in position to its calculation. Okay, that's what it looks like up close. Okay. All right, so getting that correlation setting attractions. The actual transit itself looks like this in set location. Okay, it's just divots of data, right? And this is what you see on a computer screen. Okay, it's all correctly modified. When you bring it up position, it's just frame position of dotted line connections in habitation and in habitation zones in set location. Okay, that's all data. Comes in position and settings in all track location line system of its transit and its own set location. Okay, so it outlines its cycles, sets lines of high position of perimeters in 3 set location. Or you get a 4 track line connections of provision and 4 line connections of 4 cycle set location. So once you understand that, you understand the center core, direct line calculation setting to its habitation zones and track location of 2 panels of operation. You've got to see it in a circulation rotation. You can't just see it on a flat surface. Okay, so understanding the data is understanding the process through sounds, metric meters, scalars, balance, correlation tracks, high calculation lines, transit line and positions, habitation zones, and habitation zones, planet calculation setting, planet surf locations, or anything identification. Okay, all right. So back to this. Okay. So you have to really understand the connections of what a habitation is and what is in position of in connecting line centers where it comes into your system locations. So this is a travel recognition time sequence. What's position of time stream? That allocates position of time center in all calculation modification system and travel calculations. Okay. Author identification. Okay. So once you understand that, you add the lines in 1, 2, 3, 4, add 5 in track location. Okay. It high signals high calculation line screens in all levels of travel and point centers of track location. Okay. Sets higher lines of communication settings. Right. So there's a reason why there's things that are inhabitable. There's the reason why there's things that are uninhabitable. So it's the positive and negative line condition of space through modulation. City correlation lines that track lines of GOD or anything position locations of MOD. Okay, is understanding the memory, the operations, the correlations, the metrics, the calculation high positions, all levels in setting of its division, of its dimension location setting attractions. So there's always ways to look at things in set locations, but you have to see it up close. So it's not a face view of this anymore. It's a set location of this line conditions. To see it in a four-way track location. Okay, all around. Rather than just seeing face view. Not this view. Okay, not this view. All around, all at once. Your traffic flow is extremely important through your letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. So what you're doing is you're creating a position line calculation setting in all lines of modification system and traffic calculating line centers in a transit. A data stream. Okay. So in that position, you come into alpha, application of delta, and theta communication. Alpha, delta, theta, right? Theta communicates line center, square line communication setting and travel, and point centers of track locations. Okay, so you work within the habitation zone, right? So there's 12 line correlation settings of tracks into your system, which is divots. The divots lines a high calculation setting that has position lines of density. That density has a gravitation. That has a pole generation screen. Now the pole generation screen has line signature line screens and 3 set location line system in position locations to astral projections of travel. So you're always working with a travel line connections to a transit in all communication system and travel calculations. Okay, so it's the center core view, which is your circuits of data. Looks like this in that location. Okay. That's what it looks like, right? This is the transit, okay? Point lines of track has a line calculation setting. Now you have a cubical screen lines in a 3-track location, okay? Sets position of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 files of communication. Seconds lines of perimeter and set location setting. And you're always working within a habitation zone. That's a 12-line communications from 0 to 12, right? So in that set lines, you always have a center correlation setting of a track, okay? That sets communication to your platforms that you're crossing through line conditions to the line conditions you're setting since allocation of dimensions of space. So set position your transit has point divots of point lines of track locations in your clockings. All lines of high center interference and position location of point centers in travel calculation. Okay. So each point line centers has a position location center. 3 tracks, 4 tracks, 5 set lines of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 set locations. Okay, look how powerful that is. Okay, so that's why you have a transit. A transit creates a road graph. It creates the platform of 24, 48, 72, 144. Now, if you see the movie Clara, you understand how to set up the platform communication setting to get to the cerebral of cortex line design of its dimension lines of space through track location. Okay. So if you understand that position to its operation surface, everything comes in information location of graph calculations, right? So that's what it is in track locations. Center correlations of graphs in center, bounce position in your system. This is your Earth. That's your Earth. That's your transit. That's your platform. This is your escape. Okay, that's your escape. It's on your computer frame. which is your flight navigations of levels, right? Flight navigation, location of 2 in equals lines of level 4 in set location, right? So flight navigation 2 equals lines at levels and position of 4. So your track location line, screen lines, and position location in your system is position line calculation setting, landing on communications of Earth 4. Okay, level 4. Okay, which is a habitation zone. Okay, but it's knowing how to actually read the energetic graph screens and line connect your system to holographic set locations. Once you understand that, it comes into line strips. Okay, into a platform communication. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay, so now you understand why you have a transit all through data setting, right? So it's recognizing you through each habitation zone that correlates the track lines. So in position line centers, set up correlating line center height interference, habitation zone location of 0 to 12. Get them in sequence line communications and particle accelerators. Put a transit line in each line communication setting in position location, specification system, all calculated and modified. Now the position line centers is the specification line calculation setting to its colossal calculation nebula. Put position lines of track communication setting at all levels. Get them in transit view, line position on platforms at 24, 48, 72, 144. Get to show them lines of intelligent line communication that's inhabitable in habitation. Put a position of track line size interference. Set calculation line interference in space correlation setting team. 20 minutes, have fun. All right, so setting communication line centers puts astral communication setting and travel communication of point systems. Platforms of communication. Higher levels of channels or levels and calculation line screens. Okay. So it's really interesting when you can cross the platforms now because the correlation setting of the platforms are already in set locations, creating lines of anomalies and line conditions all in line positions of pi through high calculations of dimensionals of space through modulation of dimensional door settings. Putting position line centers here in track locations and set location. Now, once you understand that, you can go around the flywheel. Flywheel has a data stream that sets location it travels. So it goes around the central line communication setting in all communication to its system. 3 track lines of dimension line scales and position of balance. Very powerful stuff, set locations. Okay, very complicated too, right? Because it's a triangulation line set and set position operation. Okay, so you have to understand the correlation track lines, what's habitation, what's not habitable. And through times of location, you type 12 frequencies. You have 12 frequency lines of grounds, and you have to really identify the transit and position location of data upstream locations of setting. That puts everything in op centers and set location, your psychological reset position programs into the psychosis locations of its transit and set location of energetic graph line conditions of your OMI highways and travel position of perception. Very powerful stuff in set location. Okay. It's amazing, isn't it? All right, so it's a triangulation reset line condition with setting. Okay, but now you understand why it's so important, what the transit is and what it does. It creates the anomaly of a travel line position levels of teleportation screens into higher information lines in positions. Once you reach a framing communication lines, your 12 DNA line settings, you go to higher levels of universe and galaxies that puts you into escape through flight navigations of levels of correlation settings and habitations of its Earth and set location. Okay. Does everybody understand that now? All right. It's much easier if you understand it through track location. Okay. Level equals lines of 1, flight navigation 1. Right? So inside a line connection center. So your line position location, a 2 track location of Earth 1. Level 1, flight 1. Okay. So Earth 1 here, Earth 2 here, and Earth 3 here in set location. All in position core settings of habitation zones. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay. All levels of correlation, attraction. Right? All right. So it's interesting when you understand the formation grounds, really understanding the calculation setting to your system and traffic calculation line centers a point system. More lines of circulation rotation. Stop seeing things in face view, stop seeing things in back view. But see the things you can't see things in back view. You have to see things in all view, all through perception, right? Correlation settings and track line calculation setting all at once and all measure. Scales your position of balance and traffication system in perceptions over pi in triangulation. Very powerful stuff. Okay. All right. You understand that, Chris? How it sets position of travel? Okay, through its transit and what it creates, and how it comes into a walking sequence of platform at 24, 48, 72, and why you have a computer frame on your computer line center to all levels of escape. Then you get into flights, and then you get into level 1. Okay, habitation zone in your Kelvin is Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 12. Okay, all through escape. Okay, all right. So in compute settings and high travel position of point centers, habitation zones, lines of Earth 1, Earth 2, and Earth 3 is its position location you're setting. Okay. How to understand your levels and how to understand your flights is all through consoles of communication, through navigation. All right. Intense for sure. Yeah. All right. So you guys are already traveling through your 12 habitation zones right now through the Earth. So there's informations, intelligence there. It's already in signal. Have fun. You got 15 million blind screens, high center interference, 15 minutes on tracking Earth perception calculations. The correlation tracks, guys, is ready to stand. What does it mean to me? It's not what it means to everybody else. It has nothing to do with anybody else, because that is percentage over pi that correlates the system in calculation line setting. Okay, so what that does, it puts that deviation screen lines of separation in your system instead of your CPUs. So you don't want to do that through track location setting. What does it mean to you, not to anybody else? Okay, that's what everybody's trying to figure out. They're trying to understand the transit of their system like this and what that means, right? But they're following the same thing. They're following the same thing. You can't do that because everybody's different through travel. Okay. There's no center core setting, line condition setting, and separation. Okay. Now we get 3-line traction, 6-line provision. Point lines of tracks, point lines of center in set location. Okay. All through transit, all through divots, all through data. The process communication line center is understanding how to correlate the 3-line communications at setting. So all you're doing is you're creating anomalies in set position and geometry locations and travel. Point line settings, high calculation. There it is. Boom. See it? It's a shape. Right? So inset lines high interference. Yes, it is. Space command center and set location. See? Space command center. Right? Star link, star panel, star division line interference. Each star line communication outline calculation setting has its own space command center that has its own transit and set location. Okay, this is done through all lines in position of 6 pi, over lines of charge, direct lines of high center interference, and a 3-box location. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 box locations. Okay, in position. Look what it creates. All right. So when you want to add equation line screen, you can add the point systems and travel in point line centers. Okay, add the equation line screen and change position to its program set location of center calculations. Okay, so there's all different ways in position your settings that really stand all levels of view and track location to your system through transit. Okay, so you're never formulating the same equation. Okay, you're different and always informs through perception, and that's what makes you unique. So once you understand that line conditionized system, a lot of people have this. A lot of people have this. A lot of people have this. See the difference? You all have different transits. So it all modificates of what you do in the center of your platforms of communication. How to create it around the line connection. Okay. How to travel through the line communication setting. Okay. How to allocate the box frames and position of its mainframe set location. Okay. So it's really amazing when you come into that core track location to a system of travel. Very powerful. All right, so once you get into flight navigations, it gets much easier through line connection system. So take a moment and look at your computer and look at everything through line connection settings. You notice that everything location system is a box. Is that a coincidence? No. It's not a coincidence. High position location line center location is F. It's not a coincidence location line center location is a T. Not a coincidence location line center location is an H. Why do your keyboards have positions all line connections? But in positions, you can get fancy and have computer frame line connections into line center looking like this in triangulation, right? Through all the levels of 2 or set locations. Different keyboards, doesn't matter, track locations, but you're looking at 4 points of tracks in a 3 set location in travel calculation point systems, right? So the actual keyboard itself has grounding settings in position to its transit. You see the transit in the box? Do you see the transit in the box? Where is it in track location? It's in a 2-line screen. You see it? Look. Here and here. Okay. Here and here. You see it now? And you add the equation locations in setting. There it is. Boom. Okay? So once you understand how that's set up to your keyboard line screen, everything comes in set locations. All right. So box frame. So it's communication settings. Let's go through traction. Let's go through traction. Position. It's really your location, your settings, and travel communications or programs, guys. It's really fascinating stuff, isn't it? And set location. Because you're working with the center correlation setting, which is here. This is the positional line center. That's why it's set up, right? That's why it's set up. What does it have in position of balance? Okay. So if you understand that, then you understand the divots in set location of data stream locations. Okay. Now in that calculation, it's a 3-line communication or 4-line traction. Okay. Now, it's really interesting once you understand the synergized communication to its orb and channel of communication. It's very powerful, isn't it? Intelligence, see? Intelligence. Hello. Okay. All right. So scaling the balance lines, streamlines, high center interference is your flywheel that's in the center location. Okay. Puts position line centers in all track location system into your Merkaba and tetrahedron of design. Okay. So it puts the platforms in communication setting of 4 track and a 5 in position of escape. Okay. It's really interesting too when you understand the center core view changes the circulations and its rotation to its atom line connections, all line communication, all through adaptation. Okay. But you see the face recognition, see the nose, see the profile, see this nose locations right here, interactions, right? But there's 2 faces, see? Face here and face here. Look at that. One going this way, one going this way. 2 face recognition lines of an atom, line rotation surface, location going through line connections of platforms in position of escape and set locations. All through center calculation. Wow, there. So there's a lot of things that you can do once you understand the transit and the platform of communication, why it's so important, why it divots in this setting, calculates to its setting in position to its habitation zone, its application of face recognition. See? Now you start to see it. See the faces? Okay. So all you're doing is your platform communications creating holographic screens, direct lines of pixelation graph, calculation line interference. Why do you have a transit? Is to create the image. Okay, you need a platform, and that's how it sets line communication to its zones. That's in habitation and not inhabitable. Okay, all right. So once you understand that, you come into line calculating line frames of this locations. It's all levels and how to really get into that formation of divots and set lines of data. Data lines, atmospheric lines, teleportation interference into position location to its set location. So data communication line centers has a formation location to its division, calculation to its atom, position of teleportation, into its atmosphere. Okay, so I turn the data into a wave. Check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Set position of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right. 13. Set location equals lines of higher self. Okay. 13. Waves. 4 waves. All right. So we got 13 equals lines, position of 4 waves, location lines equals higher self. So it's 13 over pi, 14 line provision, and position line calculation setting in all track locations of higher self through data. See how I coordinated all at once in line condition? What does that create locations of? Solar generation screen line calculation setting and position location to a system. What is it in track location of high calculations? What is its formation to its position travel calculations point system? You see the transit? Hello. So that's why you have a transit ground, so you can create the hologram. So it's important to understand that now, guys, how I basically took the data and put it in position lines of 13 tracks, equals lines of 4 measures of waves, sets communication lines of alpha, delta, theta, and omega. Okay, all through division of dimension. So alpha, delta, theta, omega, all lines of data. Position lines of all lines of transit, position locations, solar graph calculation, stream interference into solar sail. See the solar sail set locations? Sets lines of 13 equals lines of 4 equals lines of 1 line position settings into higher self. So sets correlation setting track lines in line communication setting in position location habitation zones location setting of all calculations and travel. So we take the H line center. H line calculation lines of 4. What is the 4 track location? Solar plex line, screen lines, right? So that puts position lines of flight 1. Sets calculation line at high interference and position calculation of level 4. Level 4 is a habitation zone of Earth 4 in set location. Booyah! Very powerful stuff, isn't it? When you start to understand what that means now in all traction, right? This is the process. You have to understand how to put this all together. There's a reason why there's a space, is to create the holographic setting of data of operation through its waves of its number sequence in its binary in position of flight navigation of Earth 4 of habitation into the time zone. Okay, in the time zone. Boom. Okay, very powerful stuff. Now you guys are working with track locations of 12, which is just outlines of your DNA track locations. But now you understand what that means. Why is there a space there? Because the center core system creates the center line communication setting to its hologram. It creates the platform. Boom, 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 done. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. That's why you have a transit. Data comes from all formations that travels in 3 set locations. Booyah! Track calculation point systems. In 3 track locations and setting through hologram structure. Look at that. Whoa! Okay? Now you understand the importance of what's going on, right? What a transit is now in a habitation zone. Okay? Hey, Captain, how's it going? All right. All right, so we're at 35 line rotations, taking out tracks, which cube case lines back in setting. All right, you guys are back, and one consists of 8 sublocations. All right, so this is very informative line communications, holograph design lines of your city, track location, your holograph interference, pixelation, graph calculation, string locations, how to create it through its anomaly, all through transit. Very powerful. All through escape, flight navigation of 2 line, and habitation lines of Earth line connection. So there's a reason why you have flight navigations of 1 to 12, guys. There's a reason why you have escape on all levels of your computer, because it's inside frame position of travel lines. But once you understand more lines of your communication setting, then you understand all calculate to modify your system in track location, all through box location. Okay, there's a reason why everything has a transit. So now you understand what that means. Okay, because you need it so it can create the platform of travel. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, you got a communication screen lines adaptation surface there, Morpheus. All right, so we all have to get in line calculation streamlines highest interference out of box and out of mainframe in locations in settings. Okay, look at that, disappeared. Mainframe, box frame. Okay, so we got 2 box frames, calculation stream. Sending correlation line centers, high travel communication system, and travel. Okay, you're always going to have a transit, which is always going to have a platform, which is always connected to your Earth. Okay. It says position lines and calculation line interference into dimensional lines of escape. There's the door. Okay, so it gets easier once you understand you. Inside location. Okay, what's inhabitable and what's not inhabitable. Okay, into your time zone. Into your time zone. Into your time zone. Okay, so I want you to understand how that all works now. If you get a piece of pie and you in the center, okay, so it's truly understanding this now, what that means. Okay, why you see the data forms in stream location. All right, send location level 1 and position at level 2 out the equation. So habitation lines has a 4-track line condition provision. 1 is position your core, liquefies the correlated setting of track lines into metal interface position of travel calculation line system. Then you have the ether in track locations. Now you got the core setting track line conditions at setting. And then you have the Earth core setting locations and travel. Positions your system to its location of its moon and track line connections of levels 1 and levels 2 of habitation. Ooh, ah. That's why you see all formation line screens of your moon. Through its habitation zone. So it can be inhabitable in level 1, flight navigation 6. Level 6 in line conditions of flight navigation 4. Okay, but you have to understand the level sequence because it's position locations in the line settings of Earth 1 to Earth 12 in your formations of your grounds, into your system location of your transit, in position to locations of your moon, your position lines of your platforms, your track location line setting in set locations to your escape of your dimensional set locations of pi. Okay? Alrighty then. But does everybody understand that now in track locations, where it comes in all formations of data? How it comes all lines in position to its higher self, how it comes in all position locations in 4 track locations in alpha, delta, theta, and position omega. Sending length calculation lines of 4 waves into a solar graph calculation streamlines, into transit communication of plasma screen interference, into 4 set location line settings of Earth 4 set locations of flight navigation and position, done by equation. Okay? So I showed you exactly how to get an Argon line screen and direct applications of data, all through waves, all through transit, and all through numbers of binary. Okay? All right. So position approach to this is really to understand the waving central system in calculations. It's knowing exactly how to use it in programs. Okay? So if you get a centric correlation linear track lines, position location in transit, right? So you get your graph calculation streamlines and platforms and set locations. Okay, so we got 2 channels one way, and we got 2 channels the other way, and we got 2 channels crossing this line communications at 2 settings. Okay, off calculation lines. So in position location, in habitable zone. Okay, Earth 8 is inhabitable. Okay, because it's in space. Okay, so the track line standards is 0 to 5. That's an in position of habitation. Anything above in calculation the line center is in space, which is inhabitable through inhabitation. The core setting line condition is the truth narratives into the false narratives, guys. Okay, so really understand how that works for you is all line conditionalized system. So Earth 1, set position of Earth 2, set position of Earth 3. Okay, Earth 1, Earth 2, okay, and Earth 3 in habitation zones. It's application. Okay, in your transit. Okay, so remember I told you correlation sending track location, you flip the paper, okay, and you cross through and set locations. Rather than seeing the piece of paper like this, you fold it and you travel through it. Well, it's about understanding the distance between calculation line screens and highest interference and position of pi. Okay? So you have to understand what's inhabitable and what's in habitation, all through set locations. There's a reason why there's 12 central line connectionized system. Your tracker systems are routering and routering and in position inside of you through travel. So it's correlated and sending like this in travel communication and setting. All set line communication, offline calculation position of its program. So in position Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, Earth 4, Earth 5, Earth 6, and there's 7. Boom. All calculation lines of center into your position locations, into your habitation zone. Okay. Now split the anomalies correlation lines of track lines, high position locations, circulation, and rotation. Okay, knowing exactly how to get in that line calculation setting in position of its operation. Triangulations, in position of triangulation. Okay, see the top rotation inside calculation lines in track location. Okay, so there's a reason why there's habitation zones in the 12 line signal. Okay, anything above 5 line, you're reaching higher calculated lines into position. Okay, so it has a habitation line and position locations to all line centers. So in habitation line communication setting is the outline calculation lines of space, which is the false narrative. In track location line systems comes into atom line rotation surface and traction. Okay. So getting higher lines of communication lines takes it out of the equation line screen in all levels of communication. Platforms. Directing lines of signals into your astral projections in set location. Okay. Complicated stuff, right? And again, you're working with platforms of communication to another transit into higher formations of another line communication. We always use transits because it puts us in habitation of what's in setting and what's not inhabitable in line conditions of Kelvin in its application. Okay. 6 lines of platforms. That's why you have a transit in position of platform. It creates platforms. Its allocations. The set of communication lines centers of platforms and line calculation setting, guys. You understand the 4 lines of provision and 3 lines of tractions that crosses line screens and platforms of communication. See? Teleportation devices. Teleportation is setting location of going back in time. See? Boom. 2 right there in traction. Very complicated stuff, right? So you can be in the center of communication and disappear to another planet location. Go wherever you want. Travels on its own application to its platform of its transit. Okay? Now, once you understand that, you have a center correlation settings, which is Mother Earth. Mother Earth is always in line communication of travel in position of mechanism. Okay? Always in that set of connections. Always, 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 always. Okay? So you have to understand the transit, which is a transit highway. The transit is the transition of its set position of its graph. It sets position of its road and set location of travel in all calculation, modification to its system. Okay? So you're always creating in the center of its position, which is its image of its holographic setting through its transit. Okay? Escape, flight to, Earth 2. Right? Level is the set lines of the Earth. Flight is the navigation of its course. Goes through its delta heading and travel communications, all through traction. Okay? All right. Now, this is processing all lines and how we come into all unconnected system to your moon. Okay? So once you understand that, then you understand the Infinity 8 travel. Infinity 8 travel has a high communication setting in all communication system. It travels lines, calculation lines if it's Kelvin, lines what's inhabitable and what's in habitation to its system and track location. Face recognition. See? Everything's face recognition, guys. Everything's face recognition. Okay? So that points at the tracks and platforms. Now you understand why it's so important to understand your 24, 48, 72, because you're creating crystal grids in position with travel. So you can travel on the platforms. Okay? So you understand now? So in position locations and setting. All right. Disappeared and reappeared. That's wild. Okay. So in calculation line system, okay. In zone, out of zone. In zone, out of zone. Habitable, inhabitable. Habitable and inhabitable. So there's 12 ground lines of Earth that's in habitation right now. You're reaching the higher lines of communication of consciousness of your awareness and set position to your own Kelvins. Right? So you have to really understand how that all works in set location of your system in face recognition. Okay? Now you understand the position of its transit and why you need it. Because you're creating its image of its holographic screen. All through travel. I think we're getting at a better process now, how this all calculates and modifies the all calculation of its data. It's getting much easier now, right? So understand that, you come back in face recognition, face recognition, face recognition. Right? So this formulates you. See, look. Formulates you in multiple loads of U of particle acceleration line conditions, all levels, existing, all communication to a system and travel. Hoo-ah! Woo! All right. So you're always going to be in a transit. You're always going to be in a transition. You're always going to be you in the center and 2 panels. You're in the center and 2 panels. So you got to get out of the box frame and you got to get out of the main frame. That's where you guys are right now. Okay, you're here and here. So this is the main frame of 4 box locations and travel, right? Setting correlations, setting attract lines in a transit position calculation height centers, put a modification screen interference of travel. Modification line conditions to its position, right? Calculation line settings. Its dimensional door escape. So travel communication line interference. Once you get a position locations alpha, omega, micro, and macro, the position of the panels and the transit disappears. You come in position and you travel out of center correlation. Okay, you travel out through the position line centers in your communications of your 4 panels in line connections and travel. Okay, you go through that dimensional door, you escape in line connection system. That takes you out of structure of design, and you become all formations of structure of design. Once you extend the alpha, the omega, the micro, and the macro through your box and triangulation line connection system, it's getting out of structure. That's that design. Setting correlations, setting attract lines into your position, location, expressions, location, that's your Earth. Setting correlation line calculations into your platforms of communication, setting to travel. Position lines of tubing interact location system into calculation. You understand that now? You understand the formations and how powerful it is? So what you do, you get in the center communications, this is you, in travel. Okay, going through different platforms, getting out of all lines of Kelvin, sending lines in high position habitation in habitation, getting balanced position on the centers and travel communication system to escape. Okay, very powerful stuff. And so once you send that calculation line system, the calculation modification line centers structure sets all communication near centers, right? Structure equals U. So you're no longer structure. Okay, so your negative cycle lines, the highest standard of positive, positive communication negative. Positive disappears, negative disappears, you just exist. Into the systematic line condition setting in position locations, into unification line center location of your settings, is location. Unification of U, calculation of self, even self doesn't exist. You exist all at once in self location line system of north communication east, position of west, and self location system in time sector. So there's a lot of communication settings that really have to understand you through track locations. Okay, all through platforms. Okay, so that's what you have to understand. The position line centers is all through capacity. This high volumes you through your binaries. So in that position locations, once you get out of the transit, it disappears. Once you understand your alpha, omega, micro, macro. The 4 line signals in a 3-track location merges into one. This is how it comes in line calculus in position, right? Here, 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 here. But you got to start understanding from here to here to here to get to here. Okay, so you got to get out of the box frame, and you got to get out of the main frame. You got to get out of the background. You got to come into the foreground. Then you got to get out of the background. Then you got to get out of foreground position. So there's no background. There's no foreground. You just you. So that means wherever you go, you're actually going to be there without box and main frame in position of center. You're in the center. These are the 2 panels. So wherever you go, it follows. Wherever you go, whatever you do, right? Whatever you do, it follows you, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is. Merkaba, tesseract, tetrahedron. Doesn't matter what you do through set location line connection of travel. Your position line connection system is trying to identify you in all calculation high position of the system. Once you recognize all communication setting, you become all levels of no structure, of no design. You come into the existence of all levels of modifications and modulations of space and modulations of time and all calculate high interference in the existence of morphing everything in position of perception. Okay, so that's what it is. Here, you're in the center. Okay, so it doesn't matter you do this, you're in the center. Doesn't matter if you do this, you're in the center. Doesn't matter if you do this, you're in the center. Doesn't matter if you do this, you're in the center. Right? So you're always going to be in the center. Okay, that doesn't change. Okay, what changes is the streaming of your transit. So once you understand that, then you understand what's in position to your settings inside location to the Earth that's in habitation. All through tractions, all through modifications, all through your data highways, all through your Omni highways. You start with this. This is your streaming. Start with that. Then you go this. Oh my gosh, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then you go into this. Whoa. That's your streaming, guys. Okay, that's what you have to understand. So your platforms are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember I told you in communication setting and travels, when you come in all correlation setting a travel communication to its fish. Now you understand? All right. So it's really interesting when you really understand more levels of U, the longitude, latitude, coordinates, location of your system. Okay? Okay. So those are the platforms you have to go into. So you go here, you go here, you go here, and you go here. Okay? Sets communication at 24, sets locations at 48, sets communication 72, sets communication 144. Okay? Now, once you get into 144, it's much easier to travel faster in set location line system. Position 72 is coming into frame communications, computer lines. 48 is the frame position of its window set locations. And 24 is the ground locations to your Earth perception location that's in habitation. All through tractions. Platform communication line screens sets lines at 3 lines at high calculation of 3 settings into 6 divots. Now the correlation track lines highest center platforms comes into longitude, line count, and height interference of direct and position locations of redirect in set location. Okay, very powerful stuff. All through transit. Okay. All right. So you get a little bit more understanding of what's going on in their system. Yep, that's exactly what it is, Chris. Yes, using the scalar waves to doppel, to read the transit. Yep, that's exactly what it is in set locations. Very powerful stuff, guys. So the higher we rise, the Earth becomes inhabitable because we will be able to accumulate to the frequency faster. Thank you, Chris. Chris, I need to do a video on that. Okay, that's exactly what it is, right? So you're coming in habitation and understanding the inhabitable. So you know exactly where you are in balance between all communications of 4 transits and all calculation line system of one center of operation. Okay? Okay. So this inset location is track calculation line screens and high position locations in this settings. Boom. Okay, now you see it now. Now you understand it. Now you get the position of levels and flights and navigations and consoles, what's inhabitable, what's not inhabitable, how to balance out your Earth position location, your transit and set locations is to reach higher levels of consciousness of frequencies and set location in your system and travel calculations through point track line connections of data. Okay. So how's everybody doing on that position? Getting a little bit more understanding, right? Okay. Very powerful, guys, when you come into this line conditions, because this is what you're coming into holographic city line communications of and traction. Creating the actual higher levels of frequencies of holographic cities of set locations of your co-creations. But you have to understand you through transit of what's inhabitable and what's not inhabitable. You got to bounce that out through location, through flight navigations and your levels and set position in position travels into your escape and track calculations. Very powerful stuff. Okay. Woo! It's fun, isn't it? More fun when you start to really understand why you have flight navigations on your computer. Starting to make sense. Now I understand why I have escape. What is tab? What is cap? What is shift? What is control? What is position location to its spacebar? It's all identification inside of you. Knowing how to use it is all those of you through set locations. But look how powerful it is, guys. Look what you can come into co-creation of through holographic design, through your platforms. Okay? That's how it's set up. All right. So I really want you to understand the process lines because you guys have a test coming up on set locations on Friday. Week Friday communication tomorrow, that's already here. And position line settings. Okay, so I want you to come into your own line kinetic size center interference, get into your own frequencies and locations, and pick it up through its own transit, all through data. I want you to process it through waves. I want you to process it through where is it coming from, alpha, delta, theta, and position, where is it through its binary, through its solar graph and position of its solar wave and communications in solar sails and track locations. This is all formation of the higher self, which is what? The source. Everything comes from its original state, which is its source. Okay, all through data. Okay, so that's going to be the test. Okay, and you have to write it out like this. Okay, find what's inhabitable and find what's in habitation. Okay, through your ground lines, the earth perception, setting, location, and settings. All through correlation. Okay? All right, so if you guys want to get it in your Q&A, you have to let Hemdall know. Okay? It's up to you and line out high centers and position travel lines. It is Friday. And position locations. Yes, it is. Okay, so you have a week in line calculation setting. 7 line channels in the same direction, set locations. Okay, brings you into now. Okay, but I really want you to understand all you're doing is setting up travel. That's all you're doing, nothing else. You're setting up platforms through the 24, through the 48, 72, and 144 to create a crystal grid. A crystal grid, which is all calculation line screens, a crystal grid. Boom. Okay, when you create a crystal grid, you go into higher levels of travel. You go to higher levels of dimension, higher levels of space. And then you find the inhabitations on that setting and what's inhabitable. Inhabitable is basically the locations that you're not allowed to be on that ground set, location to its planetary system, because you didn't identify yourself. Okay, that's important to understand. In position locations of you through flight navigations in your system, through your consoles and calculation line streams, they know exactly how to get into that process of communication to your levels and set connections, guys, through your escape. Okay, through your escape. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay. So you want a Q&A, you have to let Hemdall know. And that's set line conditions. Okay. But that's it. All right. So you guys want an habitation lines of 12, knowing exactly what is inhabitable, what's not inhabitable. That's going to get you a better track locations. But this is exactly what you all are coming locations through its transits, its flight navigations of its level of its Earth and habitation. Okay. Do.